Hello, welcome back from the weekend. It was International Women's Day. I'm celebrating Abachala Arinjaulo. Yes, today I'm not alone in studio. I'm with the Sunrise crew, the Expendables. That is Don Stewart, Jay the Guru, and Susie, the rich babe. No, but I would never need that kumacha galero. Era Stewart, I kuvao na kena mu State House. Stewart, Sicho. Yep.
Yeah, an appointment.
What's your gig?
Eh?
Appointment.
Nani? Chikuru nani?
Kwenzo gaba tosange kugundi ku State House. Well, today we'll be diving deep into emergency exits of buildings. Why is it important? Join the discussion using the number scrolling on your screen. That is 074 640 5060. A number WhatsApp over or tagging on our social media handles. Promise TV UG on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Facebook. We'll be reading those comments that will be coming in, and thank you for joining us. Well, just before we dive in, I'm sure that Susie or G have a cracker for us today. Let's find out what it is.
Maybe so today should give us.
Okay, what is an eel electric?
We stopped on the sun making sound last time.
What is an eel electric?
It's electric eel.
Good boy, you did it. Okay.
Actually, what does it mean? What is that?
Last time babi mani. You remember? I'm going to tell mani.
What is
electric
that?
eel.
Electric eel.
Do you, by the way, guys, know that electric eel, bali bajikozesa in years actually here in Africa, I'm also here in Uganda. Electric eel yali ekozesebwa ku muntu alina ensimbu.
Is what? Epilepsy.
Epilepsy.
How?
Yes, epilepsy. Nti omwana singa yali alina obulwadde ng'ensimbu n'endwadde endala baali bagimuteekako ne clearing obwongo, like also gondi like also kola gondi defibrillation. Omanyi defibrillators tebateeka ku muntu mu ddwaliro okugezaako ku resuscitating, right? Yes, so esobola okukola gondi, though it has to be done with care.
Powering up a bulb, right?
No, it's real power, by the way. It's real power. It's real power. Yeah, electric eel.
Electric eel.
Well, speaking about electricity, fire, and all that, twalaba last week on Thursday, one hotel yali downtown in Old Kampala, the Sunrise Hotels. Many kwachi bakosted. Anyway, URSB. We saw that particular hotel caught fire, and 3 people were confirmed dead.
Yes. That same hotel?
Actually, not just that hotel, but also schools on different occasions. Bagamba, it caught fire, something happened, you know, and construction criteria have continued to take this for granted. For example, Sanga fire extinguisher, it was last maintained 3 years ago, you know. Atenga twino kubera nga twekengera kubanga nawade njogera ne Ronald Jemba. He's a member of Uganda Society of Architects, and he said that there are criteria zaino kubanga considering nga constructing especially storage buildings, especially residentials, nentegera nti kine kintu techiri just in skyscrapers, but it's also in our residential places. But these days are buying condominiums, people are buying apartments, but would you buy a condominium anyway?
Yes, I would.
Is it 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom?
It really depends, but 2 or 3.
Normally, I think a condominium, it's literally that space up just allow on part of the building, whether it's 2 or 3 or a wall floor, it's on the condominium framework.
You know, there are very many catastrophic things that have happened. Catastrophic, that includes like catastrophic disaster. That could be fire outbreak, burglary. You know, the children have locked themselves in the house, but also earthquake. You know, on the
Ugambye ebisumuluzo bibuzi.
All over the day.
Nezjukira bwe yeggalirayo. Akanya mugamba bannange try. Like now you have to call in neighbors.
To break the lock.
No, at times when you're rent, you can't just break.
There's a time.
So you need to use the window.
There's a time when my son was I was taking him to register. First time at school.
Yes.
Katine, you know those cars that automatically lock the moment you get out.
Yes.
So ne fuluma okumujjayo. When I look like this, emotoka neyeggala nga essumuluzo nkirese munda nkiraba kiri ku gundi ku ntebe.
How old was he?
About 3 years nga even his car grip is not when nategeera nti by the way 3 years omwana aba muto okumuto nengezaako nemugamba here like this omwana ngabitegeera naye nga it was scorching hot. Do you see the sun that is here? It was scorching hot. I got a mechanic najja nagira.
And how long?
I don't even know, but it was in 30 minutes. Nga konna katuyanye, nga vesti tekyategerekeka, nga ali awo smiling. Like this. Nengamba, you know what, you people? 3 years is very young.
And I'll tell you, there are things that you go through and you don't want any parent to ever go through it. Because there is actually a parent, that lady, she's one of these big designers of gowns. I don't know if you've heard of her story. Omwana wera naye motoka. They locked themselves in the car, and from that time the child got a problem with the brain. They didn't know the child was in the car. Yeah, and now when they called for the ambulance, she said that's when she realized that actually when the ambulance asks for space, give it space, because you don't know who is in the car and what they're going through.
That's true.
Every minute counted.
But have you people noticed how like construction in Kampala has changed over the years? No longer ozimbe nyumba shops just along the road. These days you must get authority from KCCA to know who's the engineer behind it, who's the architect, are they licensed, and the terms that maybe of course accompany that.
You also have to submit your architecture drawings.
Design, yes. But you know, these situations have continuously happened over time, and they happen every single day. But the question in-house is, how prepared are we, and do construction buildings really consider that? Muzirabieko?
Construction buildings, it's of late that the government is taking it as an initiative to have policies in place regarding construction, fire exit routes. But looking at, for example, the scenario that helped at the Sunrise, that happened at the Sunrise Hotel, you are going to find that the constructions that were done long time ago don't have these exit routes, emergency exit routes, because for a construction like that, first of all, must be having two. That is what the law says.
Yes.
Two emergency exit routes.
Yes.
One emergency route, every emergency route, by the way, has to be leading people to different areas of outside the building. And those areas must be gazetted. But the trouble is here, that even if those areas are gazetted, for example, if you went to a mall today, do you know that those emergency exit routes are used as storage?
True, yes.
Auntie, you don't even find where to pass. Number one, the doors are permanently locked.
True, yes.
And the policy also says that these emergency exit routes have to be, there are doors that are installed, whereby you can push from open from inside, and you can't enter from outside, because you push that metallic thing, then you push it out. It's a metallic bar. You just run outside. Those doors in our malls, in our hotels, are permanently locked, and the keys, exactly, that is it. And the keys are you know,
the warden,
and who has gone out to drink somewhere and they are not even near. Now, usually what happens is there are other doors that have that kind of lock, and there is a key. There is a key. They may not have the push bar, but there is a key. There is you can lock. Now, in case of an emergency, you break that box where the key is. You get the key and you open. Now the trouble is here, that the people who are working and who are residences in these areas, are there even directions showing them that in case of an emergency, break this and use this key to open? They don't even know. That is how we saw that woman jump off the hotel from the third floor, actually fourth, and she's naked in her towel, and border men are the ones who brought tires and a mattress and help, simply because there are no instructions for people to know.
You've raised something really cool. Yes, Stuart.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add, yes, Ojakulaba, most of our buildings in Kampala, for a building, we at least in a parking space. Most of the other areas very closely. Now you would want to imagine omuntu wabanga agenda placing emergency door. Yes, emergency door, yes, bagitaddeko abantu bagenda okufulumira. Naye kati bwe bafuluma bagenda kulagawa. Okimanyi nti most of our buildings here in the city don't even have fire assembly points.
Yes.
Because of limited space. Ate nga kyali badde nti every building erina okubaako where there is a fire assembly, a space abantu we bagenda okujja. Nti bwe bava omuliro gye guli we bagenda okubakuŋŋaanyiza. But because of limited space ebeera ku bizimbe byaffe nti ne baba bazimba ekizimbe omuntu agenda kukoma ku plot ye wennyini nyini weekoma tagenda ekinene nnyo kyasobola okulekayo. For some of them is just a foot or like 2 feet. Naye ng'ezo nazo nnyingi nnyo kubanga you've seen buildings in the city where this building adjoining ddala eno kati ate nga Uganda Society of Architects requiring emergency doors must be placed at extreme corners, at every extreme corner of the building, and the law requires a minimum of 2. Kakati ogenda kusanga nti the most they can do is probably mass or hourly parking space we basobola okulekawo wokka. And it's also sometimes it's a bit inaccessible kubanga masa we bali badde bateeka emergency exit bataddewo edduuka bataddewo a room that is to be rented. So ogenda okusanga nti because there is limited space togenda tebalina nawe bateeka emergency exit na nti kale emergency exit weeri naye kati omuntu bwafuluma agenda kuddawa.
Stuart, tukwese example ya Mutasa Kafero up to Galilaya.
Yes.
If you look between those buildings, from Mutasa Kafero there is Majestic Plaza. Then there is Park View.
Yes.
Then there is Galilaya.
Then from Galilaya kuliko Gondi, kuliko Gazaland.
Yes.
Now again, at least now for Gazaland ne Galilaya ojja kusanga nti wakati waliwo some sort of balcony, so kyebakola bateekawo bridge, but gundi waliwo like balconies instead of like corridor okujjako eno eya wansi on the ground, eno waggulu kuliko on the higher floors kuliko that bridge that bridges the two buildings
into that other building.
Kujja ku Galilaya ne kuteeka ku Gazaland, you get. But literally ojja we tunulira ebizimbe ebiri mu kibuga bimeka ebina fire assembly point.
Okay, but yeah, downtown that's the case. But if you've been to these big buildings uptown, they have taken into consideration to do that. At least I've visited some buildings, and as a requirement, a building should have a safety manager.
Yes.
We've talked about the keys, those keys. The reason why they would withhold some of those keys, it's because some people don't know how to use them. Maybe the safety manager is required to be on ground all the time. Because you never know when a hazard could come up. And that safety manager is the same person who teaches abalala bonna how this is supposed to be done, but not to leave the key. But maybe what the company does is to make sure that you all know who the safety manager is and shows you what to do in case this hazard comes up. So that's what I'm saying. Some of the big buildings, let me give you an example of URA.
Yes.
Olaba, I've actually used their emergency door. Yeah, nekati goyinza obutamanya because you're not an employee. You don't know where to. You don't know where to pass. Nengeri open or chilaba because they know anything can happen. There are also alarms. There are alarms that can show. You know what? Nemo, you've been to lifts. In case anything happens, there is an alarm. The only problem is some alarms don't work and they don't take it necessary to follow up.
Considering buildings that are we normally frequent, kubanga jukira ekizimbe tekikozesebwa only its own tenants.
Sure.
Kubanga ekizimbe yes kubeerako ba tenants naye waliwo ba customers. There are those people that come in daily nenga they are not tenants of that particular building. Kakati ogenda kusanga nti in most of our buildings, most of those buildings that we call arcades, ziri duka here, duka there, duka here, duka there, like there is a shop almost everywhere. Ochimanyi nti to some of the arcades in the city, ojja kusanga nti you don't even find a small space webatadde sticker oba ekipande ekiriko guidelines in case of a fire.
You know, Jay raised something very crucial as she explained her point. Nagamba nti, you see some of these signs, but how many people can even read them?
Exactly.
You get a new job, you sign the contract, you're given an offer, but the safety measures, there is not that kind of training. They usually tell you your reporting time, when you should get advances. Even those signs most times ziri mu luzungu.
Right.
Kati omuntu okutegera nti exit
naye olaba waliwo kagundi ke basharinzawo ka sticker akabaddeko exit. There was a picture, an illustration of a man running, showing you like arrows that show you, yes, okalaba fire exit, kalaga omusajja nga kolachi adduka. So they put up these stickers nenga ziliko ne illustrations. So at least you should be in position to tell this shows run. I mean, we've been to buildings eziraga max nga ziraga just max ziraga bigere because they know there are people who come into those buildings who cannot read. So it's up to us to pay attention.
So our Ugandans are full of surprises.
But you see, at least we know that you're responsible for your own health or for your safety. You are in a building. These are some of the things that you should look out for. Symbol exit route. Where can I pass? You're supposed to focus. Okay, follow those symbols. I'll be honest with you, not everybody in Tiboneja mchizimba agena kugamba. Banange, emergency door, please use that one. People won't always speak. And yes, we understand some people cannot read, but those illustrations are there. You need to keep it in mind, just that we don't pay attention to anything. I mean, you just move.
But also considering and going back to the story where at the Sunrise Hotel, that Kenyan lady, she was a Kenyan lady who had come into tourism? No. To downtown to purchase stuff with her husband. So because she's a trader, that is, they came in at night. Anyway, what happened is that the fire started at the front.
Okay.
At the front of the...
You mean the reception?
Yes, like in the corridor. So for them coming out was a problem. But usually what is supposed to happen is that there has to be a metallic staircase.
Spiral staircase.
Yes, that's a spiral staircase that comes, that takes people from their rooms and they use that and at least run to the street. So they found a challenge that there was a lot of smoke in the corridors. Now she couldn't get out to use the emergency exit, and again also she's locked in the room. So that is how she
ends up using
the window.
Oh dear.
To, and by the time a client uses a window, that means that building did not have any emergency exit.
You know, we have a national building code of 2019, and it was implemented in 2019, and that's why we are seeing a change that these days, even if you want to construct your apartments or your shops or maybe rentals. For example, let us look at even rentals. There's a bedroom and a living room. You find that there is no outer door on the other side. Let's that if people are constructing, by now we are considerate of what if this happens? Where am I going to run through? I've realized there's a difference between fire exit and an emergency exit. And so people need to understand these two different things altogether. But I love the fact that you raised the spiral staircases.
No, but of course the hotel and all right, for hotel cases, there has to be a policy that you first pay before you access the room. So why would someone fear because they may not be paid, you know? And in most cases, you are going to find that those stairs that we have been shown are really occupied. They are really occupied and the doors are locked and there is no one going to access them, much as the signages are there. But I have also seen buildings where they have all these emergency response units and emergency responses where the instructions are put on one placard near the reception or at the entrance.
And one language,
in one language, English. So how many of the people, even who are working in that building, who access that building, have had time to stop and start reading? Because you find like 10 instructions. In case of a fire, because the heading is in case of an emergency. Now, how many people stand there and start reading one by one? And in case of, you talked about a safety manager in these places, there is supposed to be, and I like the fact that you used the proper English, there is supposed to be. But how many places have safety managers? Or do they feel they are wasting money paying? Because a safety manager is disaster preparedness manager where an employer will say naye ngono buli mwezi tumusasula naye akola ki olaba we batandika omwozesa emmotoka because they do not understand what are these people doing here.
I think most of those buildings omuntu gwe baconsidering nga custodian era ndowooza bwe bawanegundi ne role ya safety manager, because I really want to believe that safety manager has to be trained. Has to be trained. Then ne bamuwa omulimu guno nti kakati yegwe custodian yaffe, but you also the safety manager in this place. But now bw'abanga agenda kubanga agenza okurunninga errands ezimu concerning okiraba okigiramu obuzibu, because that's what you're going to find.
But Olaba, me I'll still say this comes back to us as individuals. It's our responsibility. These are some of the things that they teach us, I think, in primary. Nebakugamba fire extinguisher kola weti.
But Susie, you're speaking about a school in Kampala. I'm student from China Mukaka.
Maybe, but this was part of the topic, right? Ngabibera konti if you can syllabus, syllabus nomanya this is what it is, because I don't want to believe syllabus ekozesebwa mu Kampala ekozesebwa mu Kyalo.
Okay, you could be raising
kubanga tobirabye ntete bakirabye ne mulimu ebifaananyi.
Now, so maybe what we should also put forward is that fire fighting and emergency trainings have to be mandatory at places of work. It should be a policy. I know of areas or places you go to, and every 6 months there is refreshing of people, because people come in and go. New people come in and go. Now, if you are talking about something in the syllabus, but it could even have been theory, and no one ever used any practical means. Anga omuntu amanyi, okay, fine, fire extinguisher bajukute bwebati, but what is this? They don't even know the hose, they don't know how to direct it, they don't know there is a pin to pull out, they don't know these things because they have not had any practical means. But if this can be a policy whereby workplaces adopt it and take on these trainings and not think that it is a waste of money or resources, and it is mandatory that every place of work, every building, there has to have a training, even those malls, by the way, because I have seen fire extinguishers in some malls. But Angel, you mentioned something. Ogena no sanga fire extinguisher nga it was last service.
Exactly.
Nga nestika yavako bajiuza koda. Nga the extinguisher is black.
Yeah, true.
Because meaning they don't use it, and you even find that it was tampered with. Ogendo jetegereza, the pin is out, the hose is spoiled. Baba jako acha waje abana ba scrap.
I remember we are talking about so many buildings, right?
Yes.
Not just work. And in these buildings, we've talked about those apartments, meaning these are people's homes.
Yep.
It's hard to find every home with an extinguisher. Do you have one at home?
I don't have, but I have a fire blanket.
Exactly. So, only ayinza okuba nga talina fire extinguisher. Wangejerako fire hose. I usually find the fire extinguisher nesitosangako fire hose. So, ne apartments, I believe there are things wetusobola okukozesa oba tulina fire extinguisher, like the fire blanket. How many people have it?
Like you've mentioned something like an apartment, which is residential. Kyali badde advised nti on an apartment, because it's a facility that is hosting people. Twali badde tulowooza nti on an apartment, abali mu management apartment, at least kyali badde nti at every floor kuliko fire extinguisher. Okitegeera, because the safety of your building and your tenants, oyinza okuba nga olowooza nti egenda kukola kino, this is safety for your building. And this fire extinguisher eyinza okuba nga egenda okusobola okustopinga a potential fire that is going to damage the whole facility.
Yes. Well, let's hear from our audience, and we'll be back. And if you've just joined us, we are dealing with something really crucial. How prepared are you? And this is emergency exits of buildings. Why is it important? Did you know that it is important? Well, let us know your thoughts by using the number scrolling on your screen, 0746405060, or you can tag us on our social media handles. That is at Promise TV UG on X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or even YouTube. Let's dive back into the discussion. There is something pertinent that we have raised, and that is the hose pipe, the fire extinguisher, but also there are other measures for any building that is standard. I've seen some sprinklers, I've seen some fire
smoke detectors.
Alarms, smoke detectors, and Stuart mentioned something really key. If you are to count homes in Uganda, it is possible, you say that you have a fire blanket, but 1 in 20 homes, you find that they are disaster prepared.
Sure.
You know?
They don't know. They don't know what to do. Like, actually, I remember we used to think that you can use water to take out that fire, and it's not advisable because water contains oxygen. And that's something very many people don't know. But also another thing, we need adequate lighting in a building. We've been to these buildings. Nganene, I won't even mention the building. It's in town. Okay, the sense of Nalia. There are no tenants. So the place is a bit, without a tenant, it's dark. Now, for such places, there is a hazard like to do with fire. People may not know. Let's go to sites You don't know what's happening. There is not enough light. So in case of certain hazards have come up, people won't even know. And we don't mind that. Why you get the call? We have these doors, but they are covered. They have been made as stores. There is no light. You can't even know that, okay, exit door. You can't tell. We need this light in the building. And this light should be there whether it's day or night. So that people can know, okay, this is the door that takes me out. To get the signs that we put up. I can't see it if there is no light. If the light is limited, aspects all the time.
That's a direct attack. But anyway, I'm not saying. When you look at the building control regulation of 2020, it's just that every building must have an exit, just as there is an entrance. But to continuously see that the construction is taking place, but there's no maybe back door exit. But but then the question in-house is, if this regulation is in place, how can people choose to construct for themselves, even without wanting KCCA to be involved in their construction for purposes of regulation?
Well, it's because we have taken it up upon ourselves. But I also want to commend KCCA. These days, they are not taking it lightly. Yes. There are buildings that have been given warnings, and they have been told if they don't have these requirements in place, they will be closed. And the trouble that we have, especially in Uganda, is because is one thing that, for example, they are going to be told, we shall close down this building, and the people run to State House to report.
The big guys.
The big guys. Now, because these buildings are owned by the big shots in. Now, that alone, so you're going to find, by the way, if you even made your own research, you're going to find that the owner of Sunrise Hotel was warned. Number one, by Kasita. Number two, by KCCA. The policies, everything is working against them. But because they have influence, you will find that these matters are not handled the way they are supposed to be handled. Everyone has somewhere to run to. As a matter of fact, when these policies now start being put into place so that they can start acting, you will hear statements that will blow your mind. Statements of, do you know who I am? Do you know this? Who do you think you are? Is this your building? So if that went out of the way and people understood that policy is policy, a law is law, a national policy for disaster preparedness and management, these things have to be put in place and strictly followed. Otherwise, we are going to continue losing lives.
Actually, Jane, in some countries, if you are not going to follow that, you don't work. If not, they close immediately. But one thing I've also known about KCCA, also renovations. If they find you renovating a building, they have to come and check, do you have whatever that is necessary? That documents, like everything. And because of that, very many people are scared. They fear to face the law because they're not building with whatever that is necessary. But now when KCCA gets to find out, they definitely come on ground to find out, do you have whatever that is necessary? We're talking about the exit door. Do you have it? Fencing to avoid interruptions.
But also you'll get to know that recently, if you're building in a particular space in town, there are recommendations by KCCA still. Yes, there are plans they won't approve based on the space and the particular area where you're building. There is a number of stories they won't allow you to exceed. You can only build this number of stories based on how they form.
storage.
No,
That's
bondi storage
levels.
buildings,
Yeah.
kale zoyita levels, ekitegedde? So kati balina okay floors ze batagenda kukkiriza to exceed based on how they think or how they see the safety of the place where you're building. But also I also love the fact that when you move around the city now, you see fire hydrants, which we rarely used to have, by the way.
You've seen some? Last time we had not seen.
Along William Street.
Along William Street. Also, there are also fire
You know
hydrants.
how to use them.
Fire hydrants around Wandegea police station there. You'll notice fire hydrants there. They are blue in color actually. A number of hydrants now. So that in case of a fire happens, waberawo gundi nti basobola connectinga mangu gundi pipes is connecting
but Stuart, maybe we should also mention that there is there a connection or a reconciliation between National Water and Uganda Police, because that is where the problem was coming from, that these hydrants are there, they are well placed, but because there is no one who pays for the water that is used, now who will pay? But this one is using it as an emergency response, and that is why those hydrants are not operating.
The biggest problem was that the citizens were actually taking advantage of the hydrants.
True. So Katinga Vebuza, is it a national? Is it national water to face the problem, or police or KCCA? Because these things are in the city center, which is KCCA's property. Yes. And then Uganda Police has to use them in case of an emergency. And then Omutuze, Naja, Namenya, Nakotula, then they start using the water illegally. So they ended up closing or shutting down the water that is supposed to be there stationed.
That is supposed to be a matter of communication. In case,
let me tell you that matter of communication entered parliament.
Absolutely it did. Naye gondi nze mukulaba kwange, it's supposed to be as simple as in case there is a fire and the fire brigade department has been called on. It's a matter of you guys at National Waters on those switches to just release the water.
How will they even respond? Because when we are talking about emergency means something has to be stationed
immediately, so
that in case of any emergency, fire is not, there is nothing. You even forget the number of that person you're talking about to switch on. The airtime. Oh, baby. Oh, God. No.
You know, when Jemba, the one I told you about, the member of Uganda Society of Architects, says that when someone is constructing, they must be in consideration to a burglar, burglar proofing, not just because they want to be at the comfort of their home or having this building in place. But he also echoes and says that one of the key things is that people, mixing 5 wheelbarrows of sand with 1 bag of cement. The leading cause of why we are seeing these distractions, maybe buildings are cracking up. 2 years ago, it has bigger cracks, you know. But away from that catastrophic events and all that, one of the key things we need to continue to echo to our viewers is, even at home,
yes, sure,
that gas you're using, that charcoal stove you're using. I mean, how prepared will you curb this fire that raises if even the homestay people don't know how to take on this emergency?
Ojukira negundi abane twakosanga nnyo candles. And the candle is on, then out of the blue there is fire and we don't know how to stop it. And it goes from one building.
But now do you know that these emergency exit routes also have to be having fire resistant materials
Yes.
that are used
In
to
terms of construction.
Yes, to construct. But that the owners of these buildings don't put that into consideration. That is why you're finding that there is a fire outbreak and everything crumbles down because there is nothing resistant to fire that is placed there. But also, we mentioned it very slightly, but maybe we should re-echo it, that things like smoke detectors, it is something small, but very, very necessary in a place, to an extent that wabelawo smoke detectors, that even when someone is cooking in a kitchen and the smoke is too much, they are triggered off. But I'd rather have that so that we know that there is a warning, that is something is warning us to take caution. But also, us getting our people to understand that these things are important, because there is a tendency of people to think that when an alarm goes off, ebyo bya police, ebyo bichi, omuntu ne yebaka. Yet there is an alarm, and because maybe they've never heard about it, they've never known that, okay, this is an emergency alarm that has gone off.
Kind of person would sleep?
I am telling you, there are people
under the
who
sound
will.
of an emergency
alarm. About these fire extinguishers and many of them expiring. What is the frequency in terms of the servicing and maintenance?
Yes, a fire extinguisher is supposed to be serviced every 6 months.
Every 6 months?
Every 6 months. And a fire system is supposed to be serviced every year. There is that fire system.
Fire system,
there is a comprehensive fire system where that fire system has automatic, the smoke detectors. Then there is an automatic fire extinguishing system, whereby emergency lighting. So all those things have to be serviced after a year. That system where in case of a fire breaks out, automatically it releases either water or carbon dioxide or the powder. Now that system, because it is really connected to, it has to be serviced after a year. And those systems, for example, I know in Workers' House it's there. It runs the whole place. So in case of anything, that happens. But for extinguishers, 6 months.
Jen, I want to think that the reason why some of the owners of these buildings don't put up such things. Now, like you talked of the door that is fire resistant. My goodness, it must be very expensive. The powders, the what? You think they don't know? I'm sure they know. But it's costly.
So by the time omuntu wafunira sente is putting up such a structure, a building, chikostinga sente okutandika okuzimba ekizimbe. Tosobola kungamba nti you'll start building and you've not counted the cost that among the things that you have to meet as you're building, mulimu a fire system. Kubanga at the end of the day, ndalabayo obere accounting a cost, and these are things, by the way, that are required by the KCCA and the Uganda law of the Uganda Society of Architects and all the other bodies concerned. Bino byonna byonna bibeera required so for as long as ogenda kuzimba ekizimbe in the city. Kakati bwobanga dala for a commercial building and a commercial structure, you can't tell me nti ogenda kutandika ozimbe ekizimbe ekyo nga you don't have it in mind nti oina the way you are bwogenda okuteekamu amasannyalaze, the way bwogenda okuteekamu amazzi, n'ogamba nti tolina ngeri to preparing yourself to also put in place a fire system, because at the end of the day chiyamba gwe, by the way, in case an emergency happens, for example fire system, ekizimbe ekyo kigenda kubeera saved, togenda kuyingira costs nyingi nnyo nga ze waliyingidde singa kiba kiweddewo.
Stewart, okimanye nti in Uganda abantu basinga to protect themselves against burglar more than fire because kati zino emergency exit routes kyova osanga nga kuliko a wooden door ne burglar proof nga nsibe ne kufulu nga tekuli lujira push out.
Fire will ever come.
They've never thought about fire being an emergency. It is like preparing yourself for drought. Tetulowooza nti drought edibeerako mu Uganda because for us you say the Pearl of Africa drought no kikafuwe you'd rather
and that is actually part of the reason why enforcement has to be increased and inspection kubanga kati there was I want to bring an example. It's a bit off topic but it will bring it out. There was a time, I think it was in 2017, where the Uganda police was moving around buildings ngaba assessing how prepared the city was in case of terrorism. Ne bakebera metal detectors ezaali ku bizimbe. Metal detectors nedda nga ezimu tezikaaba nfu nga gundi zino ez'omukono metal detector y'omukono waawo zino abasinga ze baali balina eza go through nga tezikola kati ki by the time someone has a faulty metal detector on their building or fire extinguishers kitegeeza inspection erina okwongerwamu ate ng'eri taafu kubanga wane Uganda omuntu ekintu ne bwe kibanga kigasa ye you have to enforce it on them. Yes,
you know, technologies bring a different turn of events, and over time we are seeing things evolve, things being simplified. Could you guys know the best measures how technology can help us in terms of keeping or safeguarding ourselves against these catastrophic situations?
Me, actually, the first or easiest thing I would say, we have cameras. And there are these people who have a camera all the time in those rooms.
Fire started from the toilet. I'm telling you, it's not allowed to have cameras.
Fire motor or people who smoke in the toilet.
Yes.
Okay, we have those fire detectors, the alarms. Yeah, they can tell there is smoke, and that's why they even don't allow people to smoke from the buildings. But people still go ahead and do those things.
Well, there is an automatic fire system that is integrated, but also can be connected to the safety manager's phone. Such that in case,
we saw like the Ivory Tower catch fire,
exactly.
of Macquarie University.
Right. So now this automatic fire system, if it is on the phone, the safety manager can know the fire has started from the kitchen, that there is an alarm in the kitchen, and immediately alerts the team that can go and respond immediately so that they can curb that. Yes, I know that is already in place, and some companies use it.
But also
some don't know about it.
Of course.
But also
it's expensive.
There are a number of buildings nga mwawe bizimbe ebimu nga tezirina fire alarms.
Sure.
Yes, so I think incorporation of fire alarms, just like real-time monitoring, of course incorporated with IoT, Internet of Things. Internet of Things, dear viewer, is when different sensors are put in different places, but they all connect to someone's mobile device, and they are all interconnected on the internet. Of course, that will also call for steady internet of the building, just in case.
Steady internet
and network.
Steady internet and network. Negeri companies zagalo koko wakenjaulo and tekisobola kubaako mu internet.
Also, smart building systems can be really a very good solution. Smart building systems, in case omuliro guzze, let's say in a corridor, that corridor will be closed off, and if it's closed off, then gondi fire system eri etandika okweextendinga so that yes. extending to other places. That's but true. Also it will the smart building system will also open the emergency exits in that building njo ngate tutaddeko ne fire alarm nti omuntu ajja kuba amanyi omuntu ajja kuba amanyi nti wanena awali ettaala wendi mukola ki wendi mukugenda and because omanyi panic ebeerawo mostly in case for example a fire or such an emergency nti omuntu abeera stranded nga tamanyi na wagenda kulaga because of the panic and the shock kati bwabeerawo at least fire lighting systems eziraga nti genda wano bot I think it really helps a lot.
But there is also something which we see that developed countries have. Hey, why would it come to Uganda? But anyway, we've talked about, we are believing and we are hoping that this technology will come. I hope so. There is a fire emergency room where in case of a fire, the workers are put, for example, in this room and it is sealed off. And whatever material they use is fire resistant. So that room is specifically designed to be fire resistant. And so as the fire emergencies and police are working outside and putting out the fire, the people are safe. Because because now we are closed off to you are preparing that so it is high technology so
I would believe.
Yes, we believe.
I think even when someone is intending to construct, they should look at long term and not short term that hey in a nyumba over this building I'm just hoping to pay off the loan I've got from the bank, but make something really standard that will stand and also be an inspiration to other constructions and getting architects that are really qualifying.
We have a habit of wanting cheap labor.
Yep.
I know someone who can do it cheaper.
But also wanting to our money to come back for us to get back our profits. So putting these things are expensive.
I think the whole point is looking long term and not just short term.
You know, there is a house I saw, a residential home I saw, and the house was constructed 2 years ago, but the house looks like it was constructed 10 years ago. But I also feel we have a message for people who stay home, like in terms of fire preparedness and emergencies. What do you think people should do?
First of all, let us not take it lightly that fire may not come. Anything can happen. Fire is disaster and it has to be prepared for. So training your worker at home, your children, I have told them that in case a fire breaks out here, just get this blanket and throw it there. But also, I don't have this personally at home, but it is also important. You remember the sand buckets?
The sand
we
buckets,
should have sand around, such that in case of
them
anything,
at petrol stations.
such that in case of anything, omukozi abanga achimanyi, if they are frying something and oil gets into and it sparks, at least run out, get a bucket of sand and pour from outside. Just okutasa embeera, so that, but also knowing what gadgets they should use and what they should not use. And being vigilant. Wabeerawo abakozi abagenda ne batandika okufumba ne badda ku buzannyo ku masimu ne badda ku TikTok mukola nnyo bu video obwa TikTok na omukozi n'agenda ali ku TikTok live eno enva zisirira ali ku gas kati esepiki nebwatuka fire. So agenda okwekanga olaba bwakwatamu obwo bwengadduka buddusi. So abakozi wembanga mutulaba, it's very important okumanya nti nno ebintu bya mukamaawo obirabiridde bulungi, togenda ku TikTok nga tonamaliriza mirimu.
Jean, ogambye okutendeka n'abaana. At what age do you think a child should be trained when it
These
comes to
days, these days children are very sharp. You can imagine your son asking you, what fish is that?
Electric eel.
Abana bategera, train them. Just tell them, in case you see fire,
do this.
There's also these mini fire extinguishers,
Yes.
the hand, and people should know how to use them, the portable fire extinguishers.
Just
They
like
are
that one.
portable
Okay.
for a home.
Just like those
actually
ones that are in vehicles.
True. They are those
Yes.
that are 6 kg.
Yep.
Because the ones for example, a place of work like this, they need a 9 kg.
The 9
But
kg.
6 kgs work at home. They are enough, so you can just do
And by the way, there is
drill.
no problem with you, sir, Nanyinimaka, Mchala Bwe, with you getting that 6 kgs. No kateke wakane kabera.
Nekabera, it's
It's for
okay.
your safety.
No, somesa abana how it's done. I mean, a
True.
sample.
And Gavana, they better not play with it.
No, you can put it somewhere because I remember seeing a video of how the fire had gutted, like this. I think it's called the cooker stove gas, and this child was 3 years old. Like you said, people on their phones, and the fire was growing and growing and blazing, and this child was kept on pointing the fire,
Yes.
the fire, the fire. And this child of 5 years comes, runs with the blanket and throws on top. And I was like, how much more are we parents teaching our children?
And guess
about
what?
such
These things are actually downtown in those safety shops.
Yes.
So tetulowoza they are now.
Tibitundibwa government,
How much is that?
It is 50,000.
50,000.
So you
The one
can
for
have one.
Which kg? How many?
No, the fire
Blanket.
blanket is
Okay.
is just a normal.
50,000.
But also. Yes. When you go to purchase a fire extinguisher,
Yes.
the policy is that omuntu agikuguziza ayina ku training ogikozesa.
Engeri gy'ogikozesa.
So they also have to come to your place and help you.
And then at least nazo zibeerako ne instruction where you point the horse oba ogenda kugera.
Yes.
Yes.
But well, I believe this is a wrap for today's topic discussion on the importance of emergency exits in buildings. Thank you for being a part of this amazing discussion. I believe that right now you are going to level up on your security and being, of course, security conscious everywhere you go. And of course, if you're a parent, you should also train your children to be able to mitigate any emergencies or catastrophic situations that may happen. Onako lwaliro nga bwotambula mu kizimbe ekyo okushoppinga, even starting right from the place of your work. Do you have an emergency exit? Well, we do call it a wrap. It's been the Sunrise Show. Thank you for watching us, and make sure that you're following us on our social media handles at Promise TV UG on X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. From us to you, we say thank you and bye-bye from now. See you tomorrow. Coming up is the kindergarten.